Hey, thanks again for joining me on another episode of the Dead Pixel Show. Now, for those of you that are new, we're going to talk about video games. I know, who could have seen that one coming? Those that are old to this, that know what's going on, that have watched previous episodes, that knew I was going to talk about video games, well, let's talk about video games. Hell, for those of you that are new to this, you can sit down now and relax, because you know I'm going to talk about video games. So let's get to it. Okay, the first bit of news I want to jump into, reported by Eurogamer.net, or at least that's where I read it. Far Cry 4 is getting announced. Now, it's going to take place in the Himalayas, which is kind of a twist since pretty much 1, 2, 3 take place on sandy or tropical areas. And then there's Blood Dragon, which takes place in the awesome future of 2004? Is that right? It takes place in the future past. The guy that was, the savior in the first Terminator was then the voice of the character that you played as, and you ripped out people's hearts and stuff. Nonetheless, the new game, Far Cry 4, probably going to be awesome. What is it going to be? I don't know. It's probably going to be like Far Cry. I would assume so. I could be wrong. But the big news that excites me is you get to ride elephants. I'm pumped about that. I'm going to ride them around and then jump off of them and probably slaughter people. If that's an option. It might not be an option. They might not let me do that. And then I'm going to be let down. And I will give that review of the game mediocre scores if I can't do that. Let that be known. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll let that slide. I could be lying about that. But other than that, the only real news I have on that is it's Far Cry 4 is coming out in, I believe, mid-2015. And that it's going to be released on the PC, the Xbox One, and the PS4. They're not so sure if it's coming out for the PS3 or Xbox 360. I mean, we'll see. We're getting in that period of time now where those generation consoles are going to start getting left behind. It just kind of happens, we're getting probably the tail end now of what games we're getting. So we'll see if they still make it for what we would say, I guess, now is current gen models, or if it's only going to be for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC type of style. Alright, so other news, let's talk about Titanfall. Now, I read this on Engadget. They're talking about Titanfall on the PC is soon going to support 4K resolution. That's pretty sweet. Obviously, now everything's pretty standard on the 1080. You do, pretty much anything is the best is 1080, or you got 720. That's the resolution area everybody's going to go in. We just started rolling out with 4K monitors and 4K TVs pretty recently. All in all, so it's going to be interesting once we start seeing games move that way. I mean, everybody's been wondering with movies and games in this type of style, is 4K going to take off? I mean, is it going to be kind of like what 3D was, where we had 3D, everybody's like, oh, look, 3D. They have, everybody building the monitors, building the TVs thought that was their new cash cow, and it wasn't. It did not work at all. 3D did very poor in sales. So what is 4K? Is 4K going to be it? Obviously, that's a very sharp picture. But are we getting to the point where people are going to care? Is 1080 enough for a while? It's going to be interesting. I mean, we're still getting things set to this 1080 standard. We're still having things. There's plenty of things that I still watch. If you play an old game, it's on that old horrible 4:3 resolution. I never liked it. I've always liked things in the widescreen, and I don't know why it took so long to get the standard to be a widescreen format, either, a 16:9 or 16:10 type of style. But we're finally getting that. We're getting things stretched out. Like, not stretching out. We're getting things set that way. So is it 4K going to take off soon enough? Is it too far away? I mean, I don't know. And obviously, if you're not doing a lot of extra development to make something 4K, then what's the harm? But for movies and things, I can see it being a harder time for them to do this 4K, getting it all set out and sending out 4K stuff if no one's going to watch it. Obviously, if everything was digital, if you're, let's say, just doing Netflix and stuff, it's not as big as a deal because you can make one format and have it degrade. Whereas if you're trying to sell Blu-rays and DVDs, and well, it couldn't be DVDs, I guess, in that type of resolution, but if you're trying to sell a physical media format, it's much more difficult because you're going to be like, well, this one's 4K, this one's 1080, and you're publishing a bunch of extra stuff, so you want to want that. So we'll have to see if this 4K is going to be what new games resolutions are going to be pretty soon. Obviously, with a PS4 and Xbox One, I don't think either would be capable of handling a 4K, or at least not right now. There might be tweaks you can do with it, or maybe some type of add-on they'll give, much like with the N64 back in the day. They had to do an add-on to give you more RAM, to give you more processing power, to do certain games. Certain games just straight up didn't run unless you had the extra expansion pack. So we'll see how this is going on. But I want to see what Titanfall looks like at 4K. I bet it's going to be beautiful. Obviously, it probably takes forever for anybody that's going to play this game at 4K to then take footage and then upload it to, YouTube or any type of media sharing site. Probably going to take a while because, well, it's a large file to move unless they do small chunks, obviously. So we'll have to see what it looks like. I hope it looks awesome. Also, in news of games getting announced that we're excited to hear about, news of awesomeness, since we, talked about Far Cry 4 coming out, Assassin's Creed 5, aka Assassin's Creed Unity, the first early footage has been leaked out. Now, what is it going to be? Well, it looks like you're going to take place during the French Revolution time. He's got, it seems to be a black and type of gold look to his uniform, to his clothes. I don't know what you would want, his garb. I don't know what would be the correct proper term to use about it. Is this Assassin's Creed uniform? I don't know. It's not like it's his gi or anything. Nonetheless, it's kind of cool. I like that it's got a new look, fairly drastic change to it. It's pretty sweet. I think it looks nice. And that it's taking place during the French Revolution should be interesting. Obviously, it's a very important time in the grand scheme of a lot of things recently. Well, not recently, I guess, but in Europe culture itself, but also the world. It's spread a lot of things. Obviously, it's how you want to look upon it is up to you. Obviously, there's a lot of politics dealt inside of that, but nonetheless, big thing to play on it. We've already had the American Revolution played out. Let's see what they do with the French Revolution, and let's just see how it goes. I'm sure it's going to be an exciting game, a fun game. I'm excited for it. Are you excited for it? Let's all be excited for it. It looks very cool. Interesting thing is, much like talking about Far Cry 4, is we don't know exactly if it's coming into what will be the older consoles. It looks like it's lined up for the PC, the Xbox One, and the PS4, but is it going to come out on the 360, the PS3? Don't know yet. I'm going to start leaning on these things that we say we don't know as being no, they're not coming out. They're just not. They're not developing. There's a point where it doesn't make sense to keep developing for the systems. It's probably coming very soon. So if you're not going for those new consoles, you don't have a nice PC and stuff, you might be out of luck to play this game, but maybe it's a horrible game and you're not missing out on anything. We'll see in the future. Hopefully it's great. Never know, because they're really starting to push these games out a lot quicker than maybe they should, but if they can keep up good writing, keep the mechanics solid, and keep providing what people want, they'll be fine. But it's getting to that point where they might start losing the franchise. We'll see how it comes out. And now, let's talk about some more of the game tech industry news. Let's talk about the Unreal Engine 4 engine being released. Pretty cool for, I believe, a little under $20. Well, rounding up because it's so damn close to $20. It's $20 a month. You get a subscription to this Unreal Engine 4, and it lets you get everything about it. You can get all the in-game editor part of it, all the C++ code works with it. You get to work, I believe, even with GitHub development to work with publishers, developers all around. So obviously, if you're a bunch of small teams, you can work with other small teams on different projects, work back and forth, and develop things. Pretty damn cool. I believe this comes out just with the new Cry engine being released, or at least there are plans about it coming out. I believe that's for a little under $10, about $10 a month. You get that. Though I don't know how much of it they've released for that subscription. I don't know how deep you can dig into it and really work with it, and how much development of a community you get. Now, personally, I would say that my favorite engine whenever I mess with things, community-wise is Unity. I've also used much smaller, and this is for a more Flash game style, but it can be used for larger games, is Stencil. Stencil, obviously, if you're interested in something like getting into the game world, building games, and you have problems coding, Stencil's pretty cool because it lets you do a lot of things visually. Unity also has add-ons where you can go to the Unity store and do an add-on to then do visual coding, and it can be kind of helpful because there's times where I've definitely said it where I'm like, I don't know how to make my code run. And I think if anybody that's ever coded anything has that problem at points where when you do visual, it's, dragging blocks around a lot, and you don't make stupid errors as you do easily with writing code. There's obviously other limitations with it, but it's something to see. It is pretty cool. But the Unreal Engine 4, I'm excited to see it come out and how people start using it. I remember hearing about it a while ago, and they're like, we'd release it, but it's so powerful, things just can't handle it now. So obviously technology is caught up to where they want it to come out. So let's see really what it can do. I'm excited. I want to start seeing games come out with it. I want to see great games come out with it, obviously, and let's see what this engine has in store for us. So yeah, that's the news of the week. I was mystified about really how much we got in terms of games kind of being announced or ready to get announced, and are we going to the point where are these games going to be abandoning the 360 and the PS3? It seems likely. That's where I put my money. They're going to be gone. It's going to be an Xbox One. It's going to be PS4. That's how it goes. Obviously, the people aren't still making games for the Super Nintendo that I know of. I know every now and then I see something that's still technically being released for the Dreamcast because people are doing homebrew games and they're just messing around. But legit console, big studios, I don't think are doing anything. Though I swear I saw something where there is still a game that was coming out for the PS2 like 11 years afterwards. I could be wrong. But thank you again for watching. I greatly appreciate it every time. Always great to see people watching a video. So if you can like, subscribe, comment, all those good and great things, I much appreciate it. And until next time, guys, take it easy.